Hey there, thanks for tuning into DuckBricks. I'm Chris, and welcome to a brand new episode of Ninjago Retold, the show where I tell the entire story of LEGO Ninjago in chronological order from the beginning to the end, aka from the pilots all the way to Crystalized. Last time we kicked things off with the prologue, which I highly recommend you watch first, linked in the description below, and went all the way over to episode 10, aka season 7, The Hands of Time. And now it's time to discuss one of my personal favorite seasons, and honestly a fan favorite season among the entire community, episode 11, Sons of Garmadon, where Ninjago got a massive budget increase in animation, in landscaping, and of course, the story was better than ever, featuring one of the most interesting antagonists we've ever seen for Ninjago in the form of the Jade Princess Harumi. And so, without further ado, let's jump up, kick back, whip around, and spin, and roll the intro. Previously on Ninjago Retold, Dawn of Iron Doom. 40 years ago, Masters Wu and Garmadon defeated the villainous Hands of Time, siphoning their powers into Chronosteel Time Blades at the end of the Serpentine Wars, and sending the Time Twins into a rift where they would never be seen again, until now. When Icronix returns and strikes Wu with a forward time blade, rapidly aging the old master close to death, the responsibility of leading the ninja team fell to Lloyd, as the heroes desperately fought to save their master in a race against time. As Time Masters Crooks and Icronix deploy the Vermilion, spawn of the Great Devourer, Kai and Nia manage to uncover hidden secrets, delving deep into the swamp to discover their parents, Rei and Maya, were still alive, and forced to work for the forces of evil. As a mysterious new Samurai X rises, a battle for all time breaks out. Kai, Nia, Wu, and the Time Twins rocketing back to the past and through a mysterious time vortex, where Wu is struck by the reversal blade, undoing years of aging but causing him and the Time Twins to be lost in the void. This is Ninjago Retold.
You're a long way from finding a ninja in these parts, old man.
Lloyd is the Green Ninja.
Ultimate Spinjitzu Master!
Support me, friends, for one last time.
The new Serpentine War has just begun.
My master has arrived.
Guess it's true. The greatest love stories do always end in tragedy.
Maybe I'm departed.
Control time! Control everything!
I have no son.
I cannot fight you, but I can resist you.
Endings will always come. All we can do is fight to make them good ones.
Revenge!
Protect those who cannot protect themselves.
You were programmed by the game to lose, but you don't have to.
I want you to promise me that you will always stand up to those who are cruel.
We are the keepers of the amulet.
I am. I am the sea. We are one.
There will be peace in the dark.
Episode 11, Sons of Garmadon. Chapter 1, Deception. Wu was lost in time. The ninja were reeling from the events of the battle for all time. And Lloyd was now master of the ninja team, leading the heroes ahead into an uncertain future. While the ninjas split up on their own quest to search for Wu, in the hopes that the time vortex ejected him somewhere in the present, Cole consulted with Master Yang at their home base in the Temple of Verjitsu, delving deep into studies of the dark art of Edo magic, and teaming up with Caretaker Claire, Phantom Ninja Salale, and Karloff, Master of Metal, in a battle against Dark Sorcerer Klaus in the underworld that resulted in the rift to the departed realm in Cole's forehead being closed, and all traces of Edo magic removed from Ninjago, meaning the ninja could no longer perform air jitsu. As the power to summon elemental dragons began to fade in the absence of Wu, the ninja were forced to remodel the Destiny's Bounty as their new home, as Cole's gambit with Yang had resulted in the loss of the floating Temple of Verjitsu. As a year passed, the ninja began to undergo changes, Zane developing a human cloak for stealth missions while Misako left on her own to search for Wu. And all this time, dark forces were growing in Ninjago, and the Jade Princess Harumi's obsession with Garmadon grew ever stronger. Years ago, during the cataclysmic Day of the Devourer, Harumi was playing with her toys as her parents watched the news when the building itself began to rumble and shake. As emergency evacuation warnings blasted on the TV too late, Harumi watched in horror as the sun was blotted out by the mottled skin of a massive serpent coiled around the very walls of their apartment. As her parents ensured she was whisked to safety, they were left on the crumbling building, crushed by the Devourer. And once the Great Serpent was defeated, and the ninjas celebrated the fall of the Devourer, emergency crews swept through the city, searching for survivors among the wreckage. In the rubble, an ambulance uncovered the young Harumi, rendered catatonic from the trauma. In a single day, she had lost her home and her parents, and her beloved heroes, the ninja, were to blame for failing to stop the Devourer on time. The only person who had destroyed the Devourer and saved the city in her eyes was Lord Garmadon. And as the years passed, Harumi would grow to revere the Dark Lord in a twisted sense of gratitude for saving the city, desperate to hurt the ninja the same way her world was torn apart on that fateful day. Rendered catatonic from the trauma of the attack, she earned the name Quiet One, an alias she would go on to use in her teenage years. In the aftermath, Harumi, now an orphan, was adopted by the Emperor and Empress of Ninjago, but she remained cold and distant, never growing close to her new parents or becoming accustomed to her new life as a princess, still consumed with thoughts of revenge on the ninja. When Garmadon was restored to his human form and formally pardoned by the Emperor and Empress, Harumi was disgusted, losing her respect for her idol, who she now saw as a weak and frail man. But this was not to last, for housed deep within the royal palace was a relic of the past, the Oni Mask of Deception, one of the 3 masks of the trio of Oni warlords who invaded Ninjago thousands of years ago in the search for the first Spinjitzu master, who were defeated when one of their own, Mistake, turned against them, destroying the other 2 warlords and splitting the mask across Ninjago. As Harumi walked the halls of her royal palace, she felt the Mask of Deception calling to her, and the voice of Lord Garmadon calling to her from the departed realm. Whether this was a trick of the Dark Oni mask to manipulate her or a true connection to the long-dead master, Harumi's faith in Garmadon was restored, and she soon learned of Mistake's connection to the Oni, traveling to the old woman's tea shop to learn the tale of the dragon and Oni. And so, realizing that it would be possible to not only resurrect the Garmadon, but resurrect specifically his evil side, Harumi began raising forces and recruiting cult members into a criminal gang of Garmadon fanatics, in the hopes of capturing Lloyd and Misako to use their DNA to resurrect the Dark Lord's Oni side. As rumblings of a new criminal enterprise began to spread throughout Ninjago City, Kai and Skylar embarked on a quest of their own to uncover their leader and origins, but only learning their name, the Sons of Garmadon. Elsewhere in Ninjago, Quanish the Elder wandered the Wailing Alps. Having been struck down by his brother Fenwick years ago after refusing to let him impose the will of the Cloud Kingdom on the people of Ninjago, his memories had been erased, and all he had left were fragmented thoughts and echoes of the future of Ninjago. Rambling about a prophecy where the allies of Ninjago were to one day unite for a powerful dragon form to take flight, Quanish had no memories of his previous title of Ruler of Cloud Kingdom, and eventually made his way to the Mountain Monastery, where he was taken in by a group of mute monks. Unbeknownst to him, Fenwick had also been cast down to Ninjago, face ripped off by the monstrous Nimbus following his failed attempt to assist Morrow in stopping the ninja in Cloud Kingdom. Now, Fenwick assumed a mysterious identity of the Wishmaster, casting many in Ninjago under his spell, and using the ethereal beauty of his mind-controlled servant Yana to ensnare many men under his control, and throwing those who resisted in his execution pit of bones and blood, forcing Nimbus to rend them limb to limb. And while Fenwick schemed and plotted to ensnare Lloyd, Harumi in turn formed her own plans, and soon enough, it was time for the Sons of Garmadon to fully reveal themselves. Racing through the streets of Ninjago City, this formidable biker gang evaded the authorities and harassed the people of Ninjago in their many street races, foiled only by the efforts of Pixel, operating under the guise of Samurai X. With the ninja split up searching for Wu, the Sons of Garmadon had free reign over the city, Harumi pulling strings to ensure that any imprisoned members would be set free soon enough. And on New Year's Day, the Dragon Dance celebration in Ninjago, the Sons of Garmadon made their move. With the city ablaze with lights and celebrations, 6 gang members, led by Mr. E, a mysterious ninjroid fighting machine programmed by Harumi, broke into Borg's tower vault and seized the Oni mask of vengeance. As the group fled, they were confronted by Master Lloyd, whose powers had significantly grown over the past year. Eyes now permanently glowing green with elemental energy, the Green Ninja overpowered 3 gang members at once, while Mr. E fled on his motorbike, forcing Lloyd to take chase in his new Ninja Nightcrawler car. And in a ferocious street race of the supercar through the winding freeways and bridges of Ninjago City, Lloyd pursued Mr. E, unable to keep up with the Ninjroid's reflexes and abilities. As the robotic general weaved through traffic and Lloyd fought to keep up, he tasked Pixel with discovering who Mr. E was, to which she replied there was no record of him or her in their database. Despite Pixel's best efforts to identify the mysterious stranger, Mr. E had seemingly come out of nowhere and served the mysterious group, the Sons of Garmadon. Unclear as to whether or not he was the leader or just a pawn in a larger scheme, Lloyd and Pixel continued to pursue Mr. E through the city streets of Ninjago. And in a final showdown, Mr. E escaped with a mask of vengeance, and Lloyd realized it was time to bring the team back together. While Nia put down a samurai uprising in the tea farming valleys, Cole and Jay were following a lead on a mysterious, elderly man who had lost his memory, hoping that Master Wu had emerged from the time stream but instead encountered Quanish the Elder in the mountain monastery. While Kai and Zane battled the mechanic at the harbor, who had escaped from Cryptarium prison, Misako finally discovered Wu, who had been de-aged to an infant during his battle with the Time Twins, only to be captured by Harumi and her trio of generals, the silent, robotic Mr. E, the crazed Wild Guard Ultraviolet, and the massive, hulking Kilo. Tossing the infant Wu into an underground cell and keeping Misako captive, Harumi and her forces bided their time and waited for the perfect moment to strike. And so, in a few days' time, the ninja were reunited once more after almost a year of being apart. As the other 5 ninja remarked on how Lloyd had gone through puberty and grown in power, the happy reunion was interrupted by Hutchins, aide to the Emperor and Empress of Ninjago, who explained that the stolen item was the Oni Mask of Vengeance, and they were concerned about the growing criminal syndicate. Fearful of an attempt to assassinate the royal family or steal the mask, Hutchins asked the ninja to keep watch during their public announcement, during which Harumi caught Lloyd's eye, much to the amusement of the other ninja. Later that night, the ninja were invited in to meet the Emperor, Empress, and their adoptive daughter Harumi, who acted the part of the dutiful princess, charming each and every one of the ninja by showering them with compliments and praise, even managing to win over the cynical Nia, who was naturally suspicious of royalty and vast amounts of wealth. While the 6 heroes were taken on a tour of the castle, Lloyd snuck off to find and meet Harumi, spying on her as she did her makeup and awkwardly backing away when she noticed. At the same time, Hutchins also presented the Oni Mask of Deception to the ninja, stating it was their solemn duty to defend it from the Sons of Garmadon, who had already seized one of the 3 masks. As night fell on Ninjago City, the heroes kept watch, Kai and Nia growing suspicious of Hutchins as they kept a close eye on him. As Lloyd walked the palace halls, coming across Harumi's room again, he was shocked to see the princess had vanished, and the window to her room was wide open. Rushing out to save her, Lloyd sprinted across the rooftops of Ninjago City, finally catching up to the princess only to realize she was in no danger at all, and instead had left her room in a casual disguise to feed the poor. Explaining that she came from a background of immense privilege and felt that it was her duty to help those less fortunate, Harumi talked with Lloyd as the two enjoyed a moonlit walk along Ninjago City's canals, Lloyd growing more and more fond of the princess by the minute. Unaware that this was all an act to keep him close, Lloyd fell for the princess's ruse, and as they walked and talked alongside the docks of Ninjago, Lloyd and Harumi grew closer and closer, talking of their destinies and their role in protecting their own families and protecting Ninjago. Realizing that Harumi had to play the part of the princess whether or not she liked it or had a choice, Lloyd explained that in his own life, his childhood was taken away and the role of the Green Ninja was thrust upon him, and the two realized they had much in common. And as the two came upon a group of Sons of Garmadon gang members stirring trouble on the streets, Lloyd was about to interfere, until Harumi urged him to stay quiet, for he would give away their disguise as civilians. Soon enough, Samurai X showed up to thwart the biker gang herself, racing through the city as Harumi asked Lloyd who he or she was, to which Lloyd truthfully responded that he had no idea. As the pair turned back to the palace, they were caught by Hutchins, who had grown increasingly suspicious of Harumi and her long absences from the palace. Warning Lloyd to stay away from her, Hutchins ushered the princess back to the palace, and the next day, as the ninja trained in the courtyard, they discussed their suspicions about Hutchins, believing he may secretly be in league with the Sons of Garmadon, and teasing Lloyd about his date with Harumi the night before, with each ninja giving Lloyd increasingly questionable dating advice. And as they trained, the Emperor and Empress berated Harumi, saying she shouldn't spend so much time with Lloyd, for he was not royalty, and no romantic pursuits would ever work out. Putting on a show for Lloyd, who she knew was listening, Harumi burst into tears and rushed out of the room past Lloyd, who realized that not everybody could choose what role they played in life. As the day stretched on, Cole kept a steady watch atop the palace rooftops. Climbing to the center pagoda, he thought back to how he first encountered Master Wu, when he confided in him that he was climbing endlessly to push back the grief of losing his mother Lily, and Wu had taken him under his wing. Promising to himself to never stop fighting until Wu was found, Cole had a moment to rest and take in the view, only to see Hutchins vanish behind a secret corridor beneath the palace. Pursuing the servant, Cole was shocked to see bombs planted below the palace floors, and as he rushed to protect the rulers of Ninjago, the bombs went off, engulfing the palace in a cataclysmic explosion, and instantly killing the Emperor and Empress. As the ninja were caught off guard by this explosion, the Sons of Garmadon burst in on their motorbikes, Mr. E and Ultraviolet leading the charge. As the crazed biker gang raced around the palace grounds, hunting for the Mask of Deception, Lloyd confronted Hutchins, accusing him of setting off the bombs, all while Hutchins denied his involvement, saying he too was investigating the explosions. Proving his innocence by saving Lloyd from Ultraviolet's attacks, Hutchins helped the ninja defend the fortress, while Zane scanned for Harumi in the wreckage, finding her trapped under rubble further away from the blast zone. As Zane and Lloyd battled the biker gang, Cole, Jay, Kai, and Nia found themselves confronted by Mr. E, who came upon the Mask of Deception. Revealing his Mask of Vengeance, Mr. E placed the powerful mask on his face, sprouting 4 arms, and revealing the tremendous, terrible power of the Oni masks. As beams of raw energy poured from Mr. E's eyes, he was now a 4-armed warrior, complete with the blazing fire of the Oni's vengeance, and was the most formidable foe the ninja had faced to date. Leaping into action with 4 separate katanas, Mr. E put up a fight against all 4 ninja at once, battling them in a flurry of swords, and turning the ninja's elemental powers against them. And in the ensuing battle, the Mask of Deception encased on display was revealed to be fake, just as Hutchins gave Lloyd the real mask, sending him and Harumi racing away from the palace moments before the entire building exploded, killing Hutchins in an instant. As Lloyd and Harumi raced away from the exploding palace, Ultraviolet took off in pursuit, chasing the ninja through the streets as she made a play for the mask, chasing Lloyd and Harumi down to the docks of Ninjago City. And as they raced through the traffic, Lloyd faced off with Ultraviolet, and the two made a play for the Mask of Vengeance, only for Ultraviolet to defeat Lloyd, seizing the powerful Oni mask and claiming her victory over the ninja. As Lloyd made his way to the newly upgraded Destiny's Bounty, revealing the massive new watercraft and activating its powerful booster engines just as Ultraviolet managed to seize the Mask of Deception from them. And while Lloyd and Harumi had managed to escape, the Sons of Garmadon had succeeded in their first strike, and the ninja were scattered and defeated. As the biker gang fled from the ruins of the palace, most of the guards dead or unconscious, the rest of the ninja were picked up by Lloyd, bruised and failed in their mission to protect the royal family. With dawn breaking over the horizon, Harumi acted devastated as she wept in Lloyd's arms, continuing to manipulate him as the ninja accepted her into their found family, and the bounty flew off into the sky to hunt down the Sons of Garmadon, unaware that the leader of this very gang was present among them. Chapter 2: Oni and Dragon. As the Destiny's Bounty sought refuge in Hollow's Bluff, the ninja continued to monitor for the Sons of Garmadon, who had seemingly vanished following the attack on the palace. While Harumi grew more and more accustomed to life with the ninja, interacting with the team while they promised to protect her and get justice for her adoptive parents, they realized they had a lead. During the initial attack on Borg Tower, a member of the biker gang, Luke Cunningham, had been arrested, and the ninja rushed to interrogate the prisoner, leaving Kai and Nia behind to man the ship and look after Harumi, who expressed her disappointment that she was not included in the mission, to which Nia replied that she knew how it felt, but protecting Harumi was their first and foremost goal. As Lloyd, Jay, Zane, and Cole rushed the station, they made a pit stop at Mistake's tea shop to pick up some tea of truth, which they could use to force the imprisoned gang member to tell them everything he knew. As they encountered the wizened old woman, Mistake kept up her frail disguise, for she had long forsaken the Oni path of destruction, and the ninja were none the wiser that she was one of the 3 Oni warlords who had sided with the first Ninjutsu master years ago. As the ninja entered her shop, Lloyd noticed an ancient painting depicting an Oni and Dragon, and begged Mistake to tell him more, feeling a strange connection to both figures depicted in the artwork. So while Cole and Zane rushed off to interrogate Luke, Lloyd and Jay stayed behind and learned of the tale of Oni and Dragon, how the first Ninjutsu master traveled to Ninjago, forming a new world from the Endless Sea after helping strike down the great serpent Wojira with the help of Naiad, and how the Oni warlords had followed him there, bringing their deadly trio of masks of vengeance, deception, and hatred. She talked of how one Oni warlord had betrayed the rest, siding with the Spinjitzu master after falling in love with the beauty of Ninjago, and how these Oni had fallen, last remnants of their fortress hidden away deep in Ninjago's jungles. She spoke of the raw power of the 3 Oni masks, which, when united and combined with the DNA of Garmadon's family and descendants, had the power to bring back his soul from the departed realm, but only the dark side of him, blood fully overtaken by his Oni nature. And most importantly, she told of how Lloyd was both Oni and Dragon, how his grandfather was born of both and passed this power down through his bloodlines, until eventually we arrive at Lloyd, a hybrid of human, Oni, and dragon blood, physical representation of the balance. At the police station, Cole and Zane managed to successfully learn of the gathering spot of the Sons of Garmadon, a bar operated by Dareth called Laffy's. As they rushed to the bar to stop the bikers, Nia and Harumi shared a heart-to-heart in the Bounty, Harumi talking with Nia about her birth parents, and about Sensei Garmadon, asking her how he changed so much, to which Nia replied that Lloyd helped his father let go of his darkness. As Lloyd and Jay returned to the Bounty and explained the sinister plans of the Sons of Garmadon, Zane and Cole arrived at the bar, putting on disguises to blend in with the seedy underbelly of Ninjago. Using his human cloak and calling himself Snake Jaguar, Zane blended in with the bikers as he spotted 2 of their generals, Mr. E and Ultraviolet, overlooking the crowd. As Cole distracted the Sons of Garmadon with a song and dance routine under the alias of Rocky Danger Buff, Zane attempted to infiltrate the biker gang by turning against Cole, whose disguise had fallen off during an attempt to perform his classic Triple Tiger Sachet move. Thinking fast, Zane blocked off all communications channels, helping the Sons of Garmadon kidnap Cole as the rest of the ninja rushed into action, leaving Pixel in her AI form to watch over Harumi. As Mr. E fled the scene, he was cornered by Lloyd, Kai, Nia, and Jay, only to use the Mask of Vengeance once more, sprouting extra limbs and engaging Lloyd in a whirlwind sword duel atop the roofs of Ninjago City. Fighting fiercely but being beaten back by the 4 ninja, Mr. E was about to lose, until Zane, still disguised as Snake Jaguar, intercepted Lloyd, pinning him to the wall with his shurikens and saving Mr. E, having gained his trust. Promising to take Zane to meet a so-called big man who Zane assumed was in charge of the Sons of Garmadon, the biker gang raced off towards their secret headquarters, captured Cole in tow. And as Zane hurtled towards an uncertain future, he thought back to how he had first met Wu so many years ago, when the old elemental Master of Ice was wounded and dying, and he had passed the source of his power to Zane, granting him a unique power source and true sentience. Wu had visited his old friend Dr. Julian in the Birchwood Forest and shared some words of inspiration with Zane before promising to see him again, and promising that he would one day go on to do great things. And as Zane found himself on a speeding subway car delving deeper and deeper into the darkness, he waited and pondered and prepared himself for the journey to come. Just as a dead end approached, the subway car was diverted down a secret passageway, and Zane had arrived in the underground lair of the Sons of Garmadon. Back on the city streets of Ninjago, the rest of the ninjas searched frantically for the captured Cole and undercover Zane, Lloyd leaping between buildings to scour the streets from above while the Destiny's Bounty monitored the situation remotely. As Nia worked on a special bike for Zane to use while undercover, Harumi snuck off, promising to make herself more useful, but secretly contacting her operatives to warn them of Zane's subterfuge. Back in the lair of the biker gang, Cole fought desperately to break free of a cell to no avail, realizing it was encased in solid vengestone, element suppressing rock from the mines of Shintaro. As he sat and sulked in his cell, Cole happened to overhear a conversation between two gang members that the key to the third mask was hidden in the adjacent cell, and a mysterious box of extreme importance was placed inside as well. And as Cole began plotting his escape, Zane came face to face with the third and final general of the Sons of Garmadon, the massive Kilo, who declared that in order to join their gang, Snake Jaguar must first compete in their initiation, a street race across the city of Ninjago stretching to the outskirts of the Desert of Doom. Accepting the challenge to further infiltrate the gang, the street race of Snake Jaguar began, Zane given Ultraviolet's bike, with Kilo telling the crazed general that the Quiet One, their leader, wanted her to stay behind and await her instructions. And as the bikers prepped for the race, Zane snuck off and disguised himself as Ultraviolet, contacting Cole and promising to gather more information. And as the race began, Zane and the others sped off, just as Ultraviolet got Harumi's call and learned that Snake Jaguar was really the Ninja of Ice in disguise. As the bikers rushed through the subway tracks, the race turned deadly when Ultraviolet informed them that Zane was an imposter, and he soon found himself surrounded by enemies on all sides. Back in the jail cell, Cole tricked a guard into coming closer, stealing his keys and sneaking to the adjacent cell, just as Zane and the others made their way onto the city streets, blasting through a traffic jam on their bikes. As Nia deployed a street bike of ice, remotely piloted by the AI of Zane's old Falcon, he was able to seize it and catch up with the other racers, demanding to know who the Quiet One was. And in the lair of the Sons of Garmadon, Cole had managed to sneak into the adjacent cell, and to his surprise, the secret box contained an infant, none other than the baby Master Wu, who had been seized from Misako following her capture. Swaddled around the baby Wu was a map to the final Oni mask, leading directly to the ancient Oni temple deep in Primeval's eye. Forced to save the baby from the clutches of the gang and unaware that he had just found their old master, Cole locked Ultraviolet in the cell and rushed off, just as Zane, Kilo, Mr. E, and the rest of the bikers arrived at the Teeth, deadly racing course in the heart of the desert. Equipping the powerful Oni Mask of Deception, Kilo used its telekinetic powers to hurl rocks at Zane, lashing out with the raw force of the Oni, only for Zane to continue to dodge, blocking off the rest of the biker gang with his remote-controlled Falcon, and leaving only himself and Mr. E hurtling towards a cliff. And as the two bikers locked together in a duel, bikes racing to the edge of the cliff at full speed, Zane leapt off at the last second, leaving Mr. E to crash in an explosion of metal, and revealing the Silent General was a mysterious Nindroid just like him. Chapter 3: Primeval's Eye. On the side of a sheer cliff in the middle of the Desert of Ninjago, an epic duel began, Nindroid versus Nindroid, as a flurry of fists and punches ricocheted off each metallic combatant, Zane locked in a one-on-one duel with Mr. E. Arrows bouncing off the metallic skin of the biker general, Zane was forced to discard his bow and engage the warrior in hand-to-hand combat, using all of his elemental abilities to freeze the deadly warrior, who managed to break free of the attacks, dealing powerful blows to Zane as his metal armor crumpled under the weight of Mr. E's fists. And almost as soon as it started, the battle was nearly over, Zane's power source buckling under the weight of Mr. E's relentless attacks as he was thrown off the side of the cliff and rendered completely unconscious, metal skin pummeled and shredded by the mysterious Nindroid combatant. As Mr. E placed a spider-like trap inside Zane's chest and broadcasted a coded message to the Quiet One, the ninja arrived too little, too late, with Pixel forced to divert all her attention to repairing Zane. As the bounty soared higher into the clouds to stay off the Sons of Garmadon's radar, Pixel diverted all power to Zane's critical life functions, saying Zane had to do the rest himself and reboot from there. At the same time, the ninja huddled around the mysterious baby, wondering how it could be the key to the third mask, and unaware that it was swaddled in the map to the Oni temple. As Harumi sang an old song about spiders to the child, and the ninja sailed directly into an oncoming storm to avoid the Sons of Garmadon's radar, the trap Mr. E set inside Zane began to activate, tiny mechanical spider creeping out of his exposed inner workings as it began to hack into the bounty systems, coming across the Pixel AI, and slowly beginning a process to overtake her secret physical form as well. On the outer deck of the bounty, Lloyd and Harumi shared a moment alone, caught in the eye of this dead man's squall. Bonding over their lost parents, Lloyd told Harumi that she was not alone and he would always be there for her, to which Harumi expressed the same, leaning in for a kiss, only for Lloyd to panic and leave her hanging. As Cole tended to the baby Wu, he noticed the map wrapped around the infant, and rushed to inform the ninja that he knew the location of the third mask. At the same time, Jay and Nia sheltered from the storm in the command room of the Bounty, talking of the origins of the Dead Man's Squall, and how an ancient tribe of Islander keepers worshipped the great storm spirit Wojira in the old legends of Ninjago. Just then, the team was summoned by Pixel, who announced that while repairing Zane, she had uncovered remnants of a secret broadcast Zane had recorded in his final moments of consciousness, a message sent from Mr. E to the Quiet One, stating that a trap had been set. Realizing that they could use this signal to decipher the location of the Quiet One and hunt them down, the ninja rushed into action and were on high alert, wondering what form this trap would take. As Pixel struggled to decipher the location, she suggested that they lower the bounty to get clear of the storm, to which Harumi quickly reminded them that lowering the bounty would reveal their location to the Sons of Garmadon, fearful of being caught. As Cole rushed in and revealed he had uncovered the map to the Oni Temple, the ninja were still confused as to why the baby was so important, but had their next objective set, plotting a course to the center of Primeval's Eye. And as the bounty rocketed through the storm, the mechanical spider trap sank its roots deep within Pixel, overtaking her AI and seizing control of Samurai X, who was now headed on a direct intercept course with a bounty. Secretly controlled by Harumi, who had sent the mech to save herself once the ninja inevitably traced the Quiet One alias back to her, Pixel had a few final seconds to announce that she was secretly Samurai X, until being completely overridden, robotic body now attacking the ninja in midair. As the heroes fended off the menacing samurai mech, Lloyd freed Harumi from the mech's grasp, parachuting down to the jungle below after critically damaging the flying robotic suit. As the pair tumbled down into the forest jungles of the Eye, the rest of the ninja were left to contend with Pixel in her samurai form, who brandished gleaming metallic swords as she rushed at the ninja, still trying to fight off the influence of the corrupted code. And as the engines of the bounty were destroyed, and Pixel finally managed to break free of the code with the help of Zane, who had newly recovered from his coma, the heroes plummeted to the ground, until Nia leapt up, using her powers over water to reverse the very rain itself, shielding the bounty as it crashed to the ground below, miles away from Lloyd and Harumi. And in the thick of the jungle, Lloyd awoke, realizing his arm was sprained and Harumi had to do most of the fighting for him. Working their way as a team through the jungle, Harumi protected Lloyd from the savage elements, who was surprised to see her remarkable prowess with a katana, but grateful for her protection as the two traveled ever closer to the Oni Temple. Back at the bounty crash site, the ninja recovered and reunited with Pixel, who was revealed at last to have a full body as Samurai X, free of any evil influence. Sharing a tender moment with Zane, Pixel explained that the real reason why she had hidden her identity was because she was tired of being stuck in Zane's head, but didn't quite have the words to explain how she felt, to which Zane ensured that she always had the choice to be her own individual, and he was grateful that she had realized that as well. As they began repairs on the bounty and continued to triangulate the position of the Quiet One's broadcast, Lloyd and Harumi worked their way through the savage lands, coming across an abandoned skiff which they commandeered across the river, all while Harumi sang quietly to herself, her darker side beginning to show itself as she grew closer and closer to the mask of hatred. Back at the bounty, the ninja were baffled how the infant in their care had grown into a toddler seemingly overnight, clearly under the influence of some unnatural form of rapid aging. As the baby toddled over to a cup of tea and began to babble the phrase, "Ninja never quit," the heroes soon came to the realization that the baby was, in fact, Master Wu, and he must have been de-aged by the reversal blade during his fight with the Hands of Time. Since the effects of the blade were wearing off, Wu would continue to rapidly age into his normal self over time. But for now, the pupils had become the teachers, and Wu's ninja team had the responsibility of raising him as their own. But before the ninja had a chance to ponder this realization, Pixel alerted them that her scan for the Quiet One's message was complete, and the recipient was located directly on the bounty at the time it was sent. And slowly, they each began to realize that the only stranger on the bounty was Harumi herself. She was the Quiet One, and Lloyd was headed directly into a trap. Chapter 4: Game of Masks. In the center of Primeval's Eye stood the ancient Oni Temple. Erected thousands of years ago, this temple was once a floating base of operations for the 3 Oni warlords, powered by rare purple Vengestone crystals. Now, it lay dormant and forgotten, aged and weathered by years of inactivity, and housed inside was the final Oni mask, the Mask of Hatred. As Harumi and Lloyd drew close, the Dark Princess needed the Green Ninja for one final task: for only someone of Oni blood could seize the mask from its pedestal, unleashing its power upon Ninjago. As the couple made their way through the temple's pitfalls and traps, they came upon a room full of carvings depicting ancient Oni titans and the war against the Spinjitzu Master, and the inner chamber housing the Mask of Hatred. Unable to seize the mask for herself, Harumi let Lloyd retrieve the ancient artifact, telling him that only he could free the mask with his Oni blood. But as Lloyd retrieved the mask and faced Harumi, a shadow of a doubt began to grow in Lloyd's mind, for there was no way Harumi would have known he was part Oni. As he began to question her and her motivations, Harumi initially played the part of the innocent princess, shocked and saddened by his accusations. But as the evidence kept building, and Lloyd slowly came to the sickening realization that this entire time, he and his friends had been played, Harumi's facade began to crumble, and she began to taunt Lloyd that he and the rest of the ninja were just a bunch of kids playing dress-up, and they had to wake up and face the facts of the real world, where their actions had consequences. People died as a result of their fantastical battles against monsters and evil, and a part of her had died that day when the Great Devourer struck. Realizing Harumi was the mastermind behind the Sons of Garmadon, Lloyd rushed to attack her, tackling her before she could do any more damage. And despite her best efforts to manipulate him by saying their love was real and going in for another kiss, Lloyd remained steadfast, conflicted and betrayed, but willing to do what had to be done for Ninjago. As she revealed that the infant was Master Wu and he was too blind to see it, Harumi lunged at Lloyd, hurling a knife at his chest as she was overcome by hate, stating her desire to bring back Garmadon just to watch him kill his own son, and her wish for Lloyd to feel the emptiness she felt when her parents were ripped from her. Acting fast, Lloyd hurled the Mask of Hatred off the side of the cliff, ensuring that neither one of them could use its power, but the crazed Harumi jumped after him, stopping her fall with her knife while she adorned the mask. As the rippling energy of the Oni twisted her body, encasing her in hardened stone, Harumi leapt upwards, voice now corrupted with the demonic influence of the Oni. Beating Lloyd in a quick fight, Harumi smashed the temple walls, causing the rubble to fall on Lloyd and water levels to rise up as she made her escape, summoning the Sons of Garmadon to lay siege to the bounty. And as this biker gang rounded up the 5 remaining ninja, Pixel and Wu, they managed to break free and chase them to the Oni temple, where Kai intercepted Harumi just as she was beginning to escape with the Mask of Hatred, and the bikers found themselves in a standoff with the ninja, each party having a sword to the other's throat. As Lloyd escaped from the temple and landed in the center of the group, their conflict was interrupted by the emergence of a massive crustacean beast native to the jungle, and the Sons of Garmadon were forced to work alongside the ninja in fighting off the beast. As Mr. E and Kilo donned their respective Oni masks, the ninja fired up their Spinjitzu and elemental abilities, beating back the beast as Harumi ordered her forces to retreat while they were distracted, capturing Lloyd in the process. As the ninja fended off the crab-like beast and managed to tame and control it, the bounty was commandeered by the Sons of Garmadon and hurtled toward the ruins of the royal palace, where the center temple of resurrection was being repurposed for a dark ritual. In the meantime, the ninja made it back to the commissioner's office, explaining that Harumi was behind the Sons of Garmadon, and he had to get the mayor to authorize a raid on the ruins of the palace. Back in the Temple of Resurrection, Harumi had finally revealed herself at last. Letting her hair down and painting a blood-red mask over her face, she announced that it was finally time to resurrect Lord Garmadon, and she revealed she had captured Misako months ago alongside Baby Wu, and now had all the pieces she needed to bring back the Oni side of the King of Shadows. As Lloyd was hoisted onto the cage as a deterrent to stop the ninja, Harumi declared she never had any feelings for Lloyd, and was manipulating him the entire time. And now, it was her turn to bring his father back and take her revenge on the ninja. As night fell on the temple, the police were terrorized by the Sons of Garmadon generals as their raid failed, but served as a distraction for the ninja to sneak in underwater, headed directly for the temple. As the ritual began and the crackling portal to the departed realm began to rip open in the sky, the 5 ninja crept in and interrupted the ceremony, battling the Sons of Garmadon while Harumi chanted and focused on the dark spell. Skies darkening, the rumbling voice of Garmadon echoed from the portal, calling her name. As the ninja managed to free Lloyd and Misako, and the team fought against the whistling winds to make their way to Harumi, Garmadon grew closer and closer, the silhouette of his twisted helmet appearing in the portal as laughter rumbled through the air. As the Oni masks glowed with forbidden power, the ninja just barely managed to use their elemental abilities to break through the whirling vortex, subduing Harumi. And, in a cataclysmic explosion of light, the Temple of Resurrection collapsed, transforming into a demonic Oni-like visage. And the ritual was seemingly over, ended before it could be completed. In the aftermath, as Harumi was taken off to Cryptarium Prison with the rest of the Sons of Garmadon, the ninja celebrated their victory while Lloyd stood alone, still traumatized and betrayed by the loss of Harumi. Coldly sending her off to prison and standing still and silent as she was carried off, Lloyd's perception of good and evil was forever shaken, and he had much to ponder. But back at the temple, purple flames erupted around the center pedestal. The stillness of the air was broken by a sudden cold, and, bursting forth from the ground, the fist of Lord Garmadon, in his full Oni form, erupted from the pedestal. Chapter 5: A Dark Potential. Stumbling into the light, bewildered and unaware of his surroundings, Garmadon came to. Driven by a single-minded focus for destruction and bonded with Harumi, who had been the one to resurrect him, the demonic Oni Garmadon managed to hijack a garbage truck, driving it straight to the police station where his followers were being held, and smashing it directly into the building. As the hulking, four-armed warrior emerged from the vehicle, the police stood no chance against him as he shrugged off all their attacks and made his way to the center holding cells, freeing the Dark Princess. Unaware of their failure, the ninjas celebrated their victory over the Sons of Garmadon, while Lloyd remained distant, distraught over Harumi's betrayal. As television anchor Gail Gossip began to report on the attack in the police station, Lloyd interrupted their celebrations, summoning the ninja to the station to investigate what had happened, only to find the building in ruins, the surviving policemen swearing that Lord Garmadon had caused the destruction, and the Sons of Garmadon nowhere to be found. Horrified by the resurrection of his father, Lloyd made arrangements for the toddler Wu and Misako to stay with Dareth in his apartment to ride out the storm, while he and the ninja discussed their plan of attack, for the Sons of Garmadon had taken over Cryptarium Prison and established it as their new base of operations. Inside the prison, Harumi introduced her followers to their Dark Lord, and as Garmadon honed his skills and trained by fighting hordes of biker gang members at once, Harumi explained that in order to unlock his true potential and find the power within him, he must first destroy his only obstacle, Lloyd, who Harumi knew would come and face him. And so, in the skies above Ninjago, the Destiny's bounty rocketed towards Cryptarium, Lloyd insisting on facing his father and redeeming him the same way he saved him so many years ago, while the rest of the ninja were more cautious, warning him that according to all accounts, his father was not who he once was. But Lloyd was blinded by anger and regret, and so, after locking his teammates in a room on the bounty and armoring up with swords and weaponry, he sped off in his Nightcrawler supercar, smashing his console to prevent his friends from contacting him as he rushed off to face Garmadon alone. Calling out to his father in the seemingly deserted prison, Lloyd was unaware that everything was being broadcast by Harumi, and the citizens of Ninjago City were about to witness the fight of a lifetime. As Garmadon stepped into the light, and Lloyd encountered his father for the first time in the years since his death, the two began to remark on how they had changed, Lloyd begging Garmadon to change his mind, while the relentless Oni warlord rushed at his own son, blasting him with powerful bursts of crackling purple Oni energy. Shocked to see his father wield powers of his own, Lloyd was forced to divert all his concentration into shielding himself from the cataclysmic blows, body rippling with green energy as Garmadon advanced, firing non-stop bolts of Oni fireballs and purple flame. As the fight went on, Lloyd grew more and more tired, using every last one of his reserves to put up a defense against the powerful Garmadon, who never tired, but only seemed to grow more powerful as the fight continued. Realizing it was the fight that fueled him, Harumi cackled as she and the Sons of Garmadon watched their Dark Lord overpower his son, body and armor aglow with brilliant purple light. The fight lasted minutes, both sides refusing to let up as the powerful energy of the Oni coursed through Garmadon's veins, slowly overtaking his son. As Lloyd used all the power he had at his disposal, green energy flaring around his arms as he fought Garmadon with all his might, he could only watch as his father grew stronger and stronger, fueling himself with every punch, every hit, and every Oni energy blast. As Lloyd begged and pleaded with his father for mercy, green energy draining from his body as he used up all his power, Garmadon coldly declared that he had no son. And, in a powerful blast, He hurled Lloyd through the brick walls of the prison, blasting his son out onto the ground far below. In the aftermath, Harumi approached Garmadon, who was about to deal the killing blow, telling him instead to let Lloyd live, just so he could watch his father take over all of Ninjago as its new emperor. And with both the ninja and the entirety of Ninjago City horrified at the terrible outcome of the fight, Garmadon silently made preparations to overtake all of Ninjago, all while Lloyd lay crawling on the ground, beaten and bruised. Trembling with every last ounce of his strength to flee from his father, Lloyd could only call out to Garmadon once more, until his strength faded, and the photo of him and Sensei Garmadon blew out of his hand into the darkness, for Garmadon was now just a dark mirror of his former self. Back in Ninjago City, rain fell as Misako watched the news in fear, terrified for her son and watching over Wu, who was urgently sketching emblems of Mistake's tea shop, for deep in his subconsciousness, he knew where they needed to go. As Nia and the others picked up Lloyd and rushed him to the city, they agreed to convene at the tea shop to nurse the fallen green ninja back to health. And on the outskirts of Ninjago, a man from a humble village hugged his fearful family, taking up a simple sword and marching out to defend his people from the overwhelming might of Garmadon and his forces. Begging for mercy and saying his village had nothing to offer, the man came face to face with Garmadon and Harumi, with the princess demanding him to kneel to their new emperor. Refusing to submit despite the overwhelming odds, the man swore to fight to his last breath if he had to which Garmadon used his newfound abilities to summon a towering colossus from the ground itself, glowing with the purple energy of the Oni and skin made of pure rock. Faced with such a terrible foe, the man and his village had no choice but to submit and kneel to Garmadon, the first in a long line of villages to fall under the Dark Lord's sway. Back in the city, as the ninja gathered in Mistake's shop, they found Lloyd racked with fever, temperature running high as he muttered in delirium. As Mistake brewed healing tea and the ninja huddled anxiously over their wounded friend, she explained that the remaining 5 ninja must funnel their elemental powers into Lloyd, but this process could risk the loss of their abilities permanently. Resolving to do whatever it took to save their friend's life, Zane announced that he would be willing to make the sacrifice, with the other ninja contemplating the decision. As Jay's initial doubts were dashed from his mind after watching Lloyd struggle and groan from the pain, Nia also resolved to make the sacrifice, while Kai was less certain. Lashing out in anger, Cole accused him of only thinking of himself, to which Kai responded that while that may be the case, the loss of their powers in exchange for only a chance at saving Lloyd may not be a risk they could take, and Ninjago City was in dire need of heroes. But as the rest of the ninja doubled down, Kai was forced to change his mind and followed suit, and together, all 5 remaining ninja fueled their powers directly into the green ninja. Eyes aglow with brilliant green light, Lloyd awoke for a moment, until the green faded from his eyes, and he fell back into slumber. But to the ninja's relief, they still had access to their powers. But Lloyd was still unconscious, and with little more they could do, they resolved to do what they could to fight the power of Garmadon, venturing outwards into the rain with Pixel backing them up in their mech, Nia staying behind to look after Lloyd. As Kai, Jay, Zane, Cole, and Pixel came across a group of crushed police cars, thundering footsteps shook the streets as they encountered the Oni Titan Colossus for the first time, watching as it threatened the police force. Leaping into action, the 4 original heroes and Samurai X funneled their elemental attacks at the Titan, using the full force of their power, to no avail. As Cole powered up his lava arms and cracked the ground beneath the Titan, Jay channeled his lightning through the power lines to electrocute the beast, fueled by the rain. But despite all their efforts, their attacks were useless, and the Colossus was seemingly made out of solid rock and stone, Pixel distracting it in her mech while the rest of the ninja rushed to the bounty to make their escape. Back at the tea shop, Lloyd jolted awake, all traces of green energy faded from his eyes as he called out for his father, only to be greeted by Nia and Mistake. Explaining to them how Wu was in danger and Garmadon was coming for his brother next, Lloyd struggled to get out of his bed, lamenting that without his powers, he wouldn't be the green ninja anymore. To which Nia replied that ninja never quit, and as long as he could stand, he could fight. Leaving Mistake's with an emergency parachute just in case, Lloyd and Nia rushed to Darrett's apartment, where Garmadon was already lying in wait for them. And as Lloyd grabbed Wu and rushed off, Nia and Misako confronted the Dark Lord, who swiftly dispatched them after a brief fight. As Lloyd and Wu fled, leaping from the rooftops to safety, they were intercepted by Harumi, who refused to hear out Lloyd's pleas, doubling down on her resolve to break Lloyd and donning the mask of hatred to fuel her emotions and strength. As the chase began, Lloyd leapt onto a suspended train, desperately trying to contact his friends for a way out as the sons of Garmadon raced on the city streets beneath him, ensuring there was no way out. As the Destiny's bounty soared in, tailing the suspended transit vehicle, Lloyd did everything he could to jump. But the distance was too far, and the bounty was forced to weave between buildings and increase the distance to keep up. Catching up to Lloyd, Harumi made her way onto the train, begging him to join his father and hand over Wu. And in his desperation, Lloyd was forced to jump, hurling the toddler Wu onto the bounty just as Harumi grabbed him by the foot, blocking his escape. Clutching Lloyd by the neck, Harumi forced him to watch as the Oni Titan seized the flying vessel, plucking it out of the air and slowly compressing it. As boards splintered and wood cracked, the ninja panicked, frantically trying to free themselves from his grasp. And, in an instant, the Colossus clamped down, utterly demolishing the bounty and its inhabitants. A shriek of despair left Lloyd's mouth, as before his eyes, his 4 friends and former master were seemingly killed all at once. And as the wreckage of the bounty crashed onto the city streets below, Lloyd knew it was all over. Harumi had won. As tears rolled down his face, Lloyd swore to always keep fighting, mourning his friends, but doubling his resolve to do whatever it took to save his brothers. As Harumi gloated and laughed, victorious in her goal to make Lloyd see what she saw, feel how she felt, Lloyd got up, wiped the tears from his face, and swore to never make the loss of his friends turn him into her. Leaping off the train, he activated his emergency parachute and made his escape alongside Nia, Pixel, and Misako as the group sailed off down the canals of Ninjago. And from the top of a ruined building, Garmadon watched and laughed, for Ninjago City was now his to control. But what Garmadon, Harumi, and even Lloyd did not know was that at the last second, Jay, Kai, Zane, Cole, and Wu had managed to escape the jaws of death. Using a batch of Mistake's Traveler's Tea, which she had given them to go, they had plummeted through the ethereal void, traveling far away from the realm of Ninjago. And just as the Colossus had smashed the bounty, they had been instantly transported to a parallel realm. Waking up on the shores of a mysterious desert land, the 4 ninja and Wu realized they were in a different realm entirely. And as majestic dragons bellowed and flew overhead, they began to piece together exactly where Mistake's tea had sent them. The first realm, the realm of Oni and Dragon, the place where it all began. Thus ends episode 11 of Ninjago Retold, Sons of Garmadon. Stay tuned in 2 weeks for episode 12, Hunted. And with that, we have summed up episode 11 of Ninjago Retold, Sons of Garmadon. This was easily my favorite season of Ninjago. They really tried to give it a more mature and darker tone, and it definitely really showed, and I love how it ends on a cliffhanger because the story just gets crazy from here. Season 8 is definitely some people's favorite season of Ninjago. I think most people would say it is their favorite, and for good reason. It is probably one of the best and one of the peaks in terms of Ninjago storytelling. And I hope you enjoyed this Ninjago Retold. I would recommend that you do go watch Sons of Garmadon. If you have Netflix or anything like that, definitely go watch it because it's really, really good. But I do hope you enjoyed this video as well, and definitely let me know down in the comments below if you have any questions. I will do my best to answer any questions about the lore or fill in any gaps if you're confused. One thing I do want to note is that we did reference some events of 2 of the could-be-canon stories that Tommy Anderson, Ninjago creator, is posting on Twitter. These are not officially canon, but I am including them in my Retold series to give the full picture of the Ninjago storyline. Now, unfortunately, these 2 stories, Way of the Departed, which happened between the last episode and this one, as well as Splinter in the Blind Man's Eye, which happens a lot later but has some setup that was relevant here, they're not done yet. I do not know when they will be completed. Tommy Anderson said that he would finish them in like 2020, and then he said he would finish it in 2021, and then 2022, and we've heard like nothing from him since then. If they do actually get completed, which I hope they do, I mean, he said last year that he would finish them, so Whenever they get finished, I will go ahead and make kind of 0.5 videos, so there'll be like an episode 10.5 for the Way of the Departed series, and there will be another episode that's like a 0.5 for the Splinter and the Blind Man's Eye. They really do a lot of good stuff to flesh out the lore. They explain why they can't use Erjitsu, where the Temple of Erjitsu went, why they can't use elemental dragons, where Cole's Scar went, why Cole's Scar was so important, what the Edo magic thing was all about, what happened to Sensei Yang. They really fill in the gaps in terms of like little things and little inconsistencies from season to season, and they're also really interesting stories in their own right, and reference old comic characters like Soleil from Rebooted and whatnot. So really hoping that those are finished at some point. But if you are confused, the part that happened at the beginning that we covered is, yeah, that's some information from there. Most of them are like halfway complete, or even more than halfway complete, so I can kind of get the picture of the story. For instance, Tommy said that we will know what happened to the Temple of Erjitsu at the end of Way of the Departed. I just said in the recap that it was lost because, I mean, they don't have it anymore, and presumably something happened to it. The story was building for it to get destroyed or something like that, so I'm guessing that Yang is probably going to die at the end and it's going to blow up. I don't know, just a guess, but that's why I kind of made it vague in the recap, and I just said they don't have it anymore. Anyways, those are the two non-canon or could-be-canon stories that will be published on the channel soon. Otherwise, this will be regularly uploaded, again every 2 weeks. A brand new episode of Ninjago Retold will come out. So I hope you enjoyed this retelling. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What is your favorite season of Ninjago? And with that, thanks for tuning into DuckBricks. Like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. And be sure to check out my Bricklink store, Big Cartel store, and other associated links to help fund the channel down below. Really appreciate all your support, and with that, I can keep on making more videos for all of you. Thanks so much for tuning in, and bye for now.